Hello, 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 and welcome to this special edition of the Hoopla of Y'all show. I am your host, Shay Rippinger of Hip the Hoopla, and welcome. What we do in the Hoopla of Y'all show is, well, normally this is going to be an extra special show, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. So, the Hoopla of Y'all show is about health, humor, and hooping. So, as you can see, we've got some hoops in the background here, and I'd like to talk about health, and I've got a whole bunch of messages just blinging in, blinging in, blinging in. So, hopefully, that's not messing with the feed. My goodness. Anyway, I saw those comments earlier. Why are they coming in now? Anyway, okay, so I'm broadcasting live right now from Facebook and my YouTube channel as well. So, and and I'm prepared with my page of notes, trying to keep this on time budget here and get you guys a good show. So tonight's theme is this is well, let's see here. Tonight's theme is who, and specifically, who am I? Who is Shay Rippinger? Like I'm talking about myself in the third person. But anyway, the reason why I'm doing this extra little show is I had committed to myself to do 50 shows this year. So, and that's a big number for me. So that's basically weekly. I actually started in February, so I haven't, and by the calendar, I missed a couple of the shows. So I'm throwing in some extra shows, a who, what, where, why, and how. So those are going to be coming up in the next months. So there will be one extra show each month, and if all goes according to plan, that should come about. So there's a great quote that I love that is, and I think it's Woody Allen, and I think it's if you want to make God laugh, make a plan. So there's what you want to do, what you intend to do, and what actually happens in reality. So anyway, that's the plan. Is I'm trying to commit to myself to do 50 shows. So that I normally broadcast on Monday nights at 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. There may be some holidays coming up here where I may broadcast at a different time, so you won't necessarily be able. Well, you can catch it live. It'll just be earlier than it normally is. So, for instance, like Monday is coming up here is a holiday, so I'll most likely broadcast on either Sunday night or Monday afternoon. So probably Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. But I will announce it on the Facebook page so that you have that information, and you will always be able to catch the recording. So if you have any questions or anything that comes up for you live, type in your comments. I can see, and now I see the YouTube feed and the Facebook feed as well. So I will respond to the comments. I won't necessarily type because you'll just hear dead silence because my brain just wants to focus on one thing. So either I'll be typing and will be very quiet, or I will be, I'd rather just answer your questions on air or address comments and stuff like that. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, whether you're watching live or watching the recording. So, all right. So who? Why did I pick out this theme? Because I wanted to give you a little bit of background about why I started the Hoopla of Y'all show. Not really the why, but because that's going to be another one. But the who and who am I? And that does come to like the why of why I'm doing this. But I am a longtime humorist. For one, I'm a person with many hats, many hats. I hang out with a lot of really talented people. So, the thing is, when you hang out with a lot of talented people, you tend to take on a lot of different things, and you try and excel at a lot of talents yourself. So, just because of how long I've been able to be on the planet so far, knock on wood, I'm knocking on two things, my head and the desk, the wooden desk. But there's the humor part. So, I've been around for a while, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about my experience, and that is why I do this show is because I bring this type of experience, and hopefully I can, help some people out in the world. That's my goal, to do that, to try and lighten and brighten your day, and maybe give you some information that you didn't already have, or possibly remind you of something you already knew, but just kind of need to get your little butt kick in to remember that and do those good things for yourself. So I'm all about positivity and, just happiness, brightness, and a lot of humor. So why am I into humor, you might ask? And some of you who already know me, and you may be coming to me for the first time, this may be your first experience of going, who the heck is Shay Rippinger? I don't know. Besides that, she has this thing called Hip to Hoopla, this business, this hooping business, whatever that is. Um, so I come from a humor background, and it's kind of a became a professional cartoonist in let's see here. Well, it's been a long time. Let's see here, 1991, I believe. So basically, yeah, I know it's like definitely over 20 years of cartooning experience as a professional cartoonist. So, like, literally, and what defines a professional doesn't necessarily mean you're good, although I do consider myself a very good cartoonist, an excellent cartoonist, as a matter of fact, because I was able to get into some really great major publications and even be on contract at Playgirl magazine for a while they had a particular editor in there, and then when they got a new editor, they cleared the board. That happens a lot in the publishing industry. Every time a new editor comes in, things change, and you may have had a job before, and then you're out of a job. That happened to me at the Denver Post as well. So I was a columnist over there, and people were like, "I thought you did cartoons. I thought you did cartoons." I'm like, "Yeah, I do. I still do. I have a thousand word punchline now." So when I wrote my dating and hand grenades column for the Denver Post, for about 5 months or so as a columnist in the Sunday Denver Post. This was back when newspapers were a cool thing, and you got the Sunday paper, and it was a big thing. And you got your cup of coffee or tea or whatever, and you kicked back in your slippers and comfy robe and read the paper, and everybody pulled out the section that they wanted to read. Well, I was in the feature section of the Sunday Denver Post with my dating and hand grenades column, which was kind of like a little bit Sex and the City-esque. So that was part of my humor background. So I wrote a relationship humor column called Dating and Hand Grenades. Dating and Hand Grenades. So you can look it up online and all that kind of good stuff. I have a website for that, but I never really put a lot of energy into it. Maybe at some point when I have more time, I will. But my main focus for a long, long time was doing cartoons. So I did a single panel cartoon called Touche, with an exclamation point on it. So it's play on my name, Che, C-H-E, with an accent over the E. But the touche, like on girl, that little thing that you say when you do the little parry, like touche, I got you, in sword fighting. Yeah, all right. I do weird references, so that's part of who I am as well. So I pull weird stories out of the hat and very odd references and stuff like that. But anyway, a lot of years cartooning and a lot of it was a developed skill. And I want to tell you a little story of how I got into cartooning because it's kind of interesting because a lot of people say I've never met a professional cartoonist before. Now I've never met a professional hula hooper before, and so I constantly go into very odd lines of work. I've also been a grip, which is a lighting person for the TV and film industry. I've been all kinds of things. So anyway, so how I got into cartooning was an interesting thing. In one of my iterations of past professional life, I think, let's see here, I had just moved from California. I did a very brief stint in California, living there, and got the heck out of that Dodge and came back to my basically home base, which is Colorado. It's been most of my life. So, and I was basically restarting new and trying to get into basically a new career. So I was getting into illustration and art and like a little like that. So I was taking some adult continuing education courses at CU Boulder, which is Colorado, University of Colorado at the Boulder campus, which is a really neat school. So I was doing adult continuing ed, which is different than the collegiate courses there, the regular university courses. But it was really cool because, which is a great way to do education, by the way, as a side note. This is part of the health and humor part, but a way to get your education and advance your brain and your skills and your life, or change paths or whatever you want to do to make yourself happier, make more money, do whatever, change. Sometimes you just need to get out of a rut and do something else. And I was basically expanding my education doing that. And I took a professional illustration course as part of my continuing ed courses that I wanted to do to get a certificate. So instead of getting a degree, you get a certificate when you do it in the adult continuing education format. So, which was X amount of classes in a particular thing. So that's what I was going for. So I took a professional illustration class, and the teacher there happened to be a New Yorker cartoonist. Now, you may or may not understand the gravity of that, of the cool importance of that, but that is really amazing because there are two markets that were like basically the hugest cartoon markets where you could sell cartoons. Back in the day, I don't know if this is still the case, but the New Yorker has always been numero uno. So it'd be like making it in Hollywood and winning an Academy Award. It's kind of like that level of, it's kind of like the Meryl Streep level of, cartooning is like acting in Hollywood. So just, high level stuff. So you've got people who and the rigor of getting into the New Yorker as a cartoonist, as I later found out, because that was one of my goals, was to always be a New Yorker cartoonist. And there's another story of why I'm not at this point, but that's a separate story. Anyway, I had to give that up because the timing of that coincided with when my mom got sick and passed away. So I kind of I wasn't able to keep up the rigor of what it took to become a New Yorker cartoonist, and I was on the brink of it, but I just didn't have it in me after that. It pretty much changed the path of my life, and then I got into hooping, so then that changed the course of my life. Anyway, back to the original part of the story, which was getting into that professional illustration class with the New Yorker cartoonist teaching it. So it was really a cool class. And one of the assignments was you opened up the newspaper. Yeah, back in the day, we actually had the physical newspaper. So you opened up this big thing, and he said, now I want you to pick out eyes and nose and in other words, you took like elements of other people's work and created a cartoon. And I looked at the paper and I thought, and I closed it up and put it away and drew my own. And I drew my own very weird characters. They were very angular. It wasn't like anything I had seen in the newspapers. It was just a creation that I came up with. And my cartoons ended up developing over time, but basically that really angular structure really held for my style, and it was what I became known for. And when people would say, I saw a cartoonist that looks just like your stuff, it's like, I don't think so, because it was really a very different style, very distinctive. And so, like a lot of us cartoonists, we try and have something that is really our unique signature, our thumbprint, our stamp on what we do. So my drawing style was one of mine. Plus my humor style was that. Anyway, so I drew my first single panel cartoon, and it was I think it was one funny joke. The point of this is that I wrote one funny joke, and it was really great, and everybody in the class laughed when I showed it, and because we had to all go through our work. And I believe that one might have been my married or unmarried section, because the couple goes to the maitre d' to go to a restaurant to get seated, and the maitre d' asks marital or extramarital section or something like that. And it was a long time ago. It was like decades ago now. But anyway, it was a really funny first start, and I got to write something funny, and that was really great. And then what I learned after that was writing one funny thing is easy. Writing your second and third and fourth, and coming up with funny stuff all the time is actually quite challenging. Humor is an art form. Stand-up comedians, which I have tried stand-up comedy before, I kind of in my opinion, I suck at it. I don't know. I guess I do a little version of it, even though I'm sitting in this position here, but you don't get live feedback when you do it this way. Well, you do a little bit. I take that back. I do this show live, so I get a little bit of live feedback, and people enjoy my humor and stuff like that. So I suppose that's like that. But standing up in front of a room with a mic and in the dark and all that stuff, that's on a stage. That is some hardcore, hard stuff. So yeah, I admire people who do that and do that well. So kudos, hats off to you. So anyway, yeah, so I have a background in humor as a professional cartoonist. So I do draw from that for the Hoopla of Y'all show. Also, I do cover health in this show too, and it's a lot of it's from my experience. And what makes me like, I don't necessarily ever have called myself an expert. When I wrote my dating and hand grenades column, people would say, "Oh, you're a relationship expert," and I said, "I didn't say that. I don't have a degree in that, but I give advice, and I'm humorous about it." But I do have a lot of experience in it. So my background in health was that my mom had started up a health food store in Bergen Park near Evergreen, Colorado, and I worked there for, I think she had the health food store called Nature's Garden for like 6 years. I worked there most of that time, and so I learned a lot about the health industry, the alternative health industry, and I came from like I call it my Chicago Midwestern, like very cynical background. Not quite New Yorker cynical, but Chicago has a cynical edge too. I was in the burbs, so I wasn't even Chicago proper or anything like that. But still, I always had a cynical edge. So listening to this alternative health woo-woo stuff was like very new to me. When somebody came in and said, tell me about iridology, I'm like, what the heck is that? And they're like, you learn about their health through looking in their eyeball and what your eyeball is doing, or you kind of like palm reading or something like that, or the color of your skin or your nails, or there were all these different like offshoots of interesting things, reflexology, and different things that I learned. Also, my mom put me in charge of the sports section of our health food store, and it was a health food store and deli as well. So we made good and juices and sandwiches, and also crock pots of soups too. So my mom hated when I made soups because she's like, we don't sell them all. And I'm like, it's all about marketing, 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 marketing. So instead of calling it lentil soup, which nobody wants to eat lentil soup, I called it Hawaiian coconut lentil, and that pot sold out. So yeah, soups are fabulous, and you just it's all about your marketing. But never lie, never lie, because people will find out about stuff. So but do bring out the positive characteristics. So that's part of my marketing and PR background as well, and media. So being a cartoonist, I was in the media. I used to be a member of the Denver Press Club, not only as a member, but I served 2 years as a board member there too. And so I have a lot of experience in a lot of different things, hands in a lot of different parts. I also have like a little bit of background in retail experience. Actually, a lot of background in that, because our family had a family gift store, a Southwestern gift store up in Evergreen, Colorado, called the El Rancho Trading Post. So, hi Jennifer. Jennifer's on live too. So cool. Hi, and welcome. So I'm doing a different show tonight, Jennifer. It's about who I am and kind of why I do the Hoopla of Y'all show. So anyway, so I'm explaining some of my background. So yeah, so the health food store. My mom had appointed me head of the sports nutrition, and I'm like, why? I don't know anything about sports nutrition. And she's like, yes, you're the only one here that works out. And I was like, that doesn't qualify me for anything. So it's like, but the interesting thing is, when you are given a responsibility, you have to step up to the challenge, or it's a good idea to step up to the challenge, right? So I actually learned a lot about sports nutrition, recovery, all kinds of things, and I learned how to advise on that. So I read a lot of books. I talked to a lot of our customers that came in. Part of my gift at learning from the health food store was, I didn't just throw information at people, but I talked with people and found out what they know, what they're dealing with, and like the information that they have, and then combine it with the information that I have, and try and create a path so that they would, get get some benefit out of that. So my mom would all be all about sell, 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 and I'm like, I want them back. I want to build a relationship with them, and that's what that's part of what I do with this show is I'm trying to build a know, like, and trust factor relationship here because this is me, this is honest me of just like keeping it 100. And if you guys have been with me on other shows, you know about skin cancer and some other things and different things that I've gone through and different paths of my journey, the different like things that I've learned along the way. So, and I always say, if you're, I'm always learning. I always say, I like to try and learn something every day. And, if I'm paying, I learn something new every day as long as I'm paying attention because new things come at you every day. It doesn't mean you like pick them up, right? Believe me, I would raise my hand for that one too. So yeah, anyway, but I'm also constantly learning and improving. So health information, there's always new information that comes out on a daily basis. I've learned a lot about newer things. I still go to the health food store. I actually go to the one, the natural grocers was the one that actually put ours out of business. So my mom was like, why would you shop there? And I'm like, because we don't have our own anymore. So I got to get good stuff from somewhere. So yes, I shop at natural grocers and I work with my little local one. I just did an event for them. They helped them celebrate the 63rd event by I was brought in to hoop there, and I've been brought in to help them break a hooping record there and all kinds of stuff. So they love me over there. I love them and all that kind of good stuff. So some good people over there. But yeah, so I constant learning, constant improvement. There's a Japanese word kaizen. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but basically always improving. So I always try and do that. So from my husband, I've learned a lot about the cannabis industry, about healing, about all kinds of different things that I had no idea about. Things that I should have maybe known from the health food store, but I didn't, get into all of these different things. Like for instance, people would come in, and I remember there was one lady that came in. She goes, "Oh, I'm allergic to wheat and corn and dairy and sugar. I don't do sugar and blah blah blah." And I in my mind, this was a conversation in my mind. Did not leave my mouth, but I was like, "What the f do you eat?" Just like, what do you eat, lady? But interestingly enough, then working at the health food store interestingly enough, was very stressful for me. When you work in a family business, it's not the easiest thing to do. So it was very, very stressful for me. And my mom and I, we loved each other fiercely. We loved each other dearly. But when we fought like cats and dogs. It was just like, wow. We butted heads, but at the end of the day, we always loved each other. We called each other all the time and stuff like that. So she was my best friend. So when she passed and all that kind of stuff, that was rough. But anyway, yeah. So, but when I had a lot of stress working there because I worked for my mom, she was the boss. I had irritable bowel syndrome, so I learned all about that. I learned about like how coffee affects that, like the caffeine and different things like that. I didn't learn until later like how much effect sugar has, but I came across a person there who was an expert, and she had done some workshops at our store about sugar, and she didn't do a lot of these things that now I have adopted a lot of those lifestyle patterns as well. But I thought those were weird and hardcore back then. And until I went through my own issues with like candida and then skin cancer, the universe, I just talked about this on my last show, the cues and clues from the universe, it does a kind of like a whisper, and then like a little tap, and then like a little smack. It could be I'm going to use some salty language, a bitch slap. So, or it could be a knockout punch. So you can listen to any one of those, but usually it's the knockout punch that a lot of people pay attention to because they're flattened out by it. So, sometimes you have to make some changes accordingly, and I want to say not voluntarily, but maybe you do. Like maybe you have a heart attack, for instance, and like there's one called the Widowmaker that is really like hardcore, and a lot of people don't survive it. And your doctor may say, listen, you can't do like processed foods, fried foods, salt, whatever else they may recommend. And you need to go on a healthy diet. You need to eat more vegetables, drink more water, get more sleep, de-stress, and do all of these things that you probably already knew that you needed to do, but you weren't doing. So, but maybe you felt lethargic or whatever before you got this massive heart attack, or maybe you couldn't run up the stairs with your kids, or run through the park, or take the dog out for a walk, or whatever the case may be. So maybe that was your tap tap, where you just didn't have it, and until you and you probably maybe you changed a little, you maybe threw in a salad here and there and did stuff, but you still go through the drive through and get fast foods and processed foods, and eat lots of sugar and stuff like that, and it doesn't add up to a good situation for your body, of treating your body very well. But maybe that heart attack, that massive heart coronary, will snap you into paying attention to your body is worth it, your life is worth it, your kids want you around, your friends want you around, your family wants you around. So pay attention and be healthy, if not for yourself, who you may not value enough to do those changes for yourself. Usually the prompting of other things will do that. So anyway, yeah, so again, I was, I'll bring the realist back into the theme of tonight of who am I? But so I'm giving you some of my perspective on things, and that's hopefully why you listen into the show. So it's one opinion, and but it does come from a lot of years of experience in these different things. So in the health food industry, health industry. So I do health coaching, and do all kind the health. I do humor. Whatever I do, I try and do with humor, because humor is also this one thing where you can get across very serious messages in a very light, easy, palatable, spoonful of sugar. Excuse that bad pun, because I wouldn't give you a spoonful of sugar. Bad way. Maybe a drop of stevia, because you wouldn't want to have a whole teaspoon of stevia, because that's way too sweet. It's 100 times sweeter than sugar, and is natural. So most of the forms are natural. Let me say that, because now the bigger companies got into the stevia market, and I don't trust them. But the original herbal blend is a plant-based sweetener, and it's really good. Than your all those. If it comes in a colored packet, that's probably, except for the sugar and the raw, I think that one's okay. But the blue packets and the pink packets, we'll leave the names out, are really bad for you. So try not to do those. If you are doing those, wean off of those, please. Drink lots of water, detox your system, get off those. And even the sugar packets too. Your body doesn't need that much sweet stuff. But anyway, that's part of who I am. I come from humor background. I come from the health food industry. I have a little bit of retail experience. I have some media and publicity. Being in the media field with the cartooning, and I volunteered to do publicity. I used to write for a newsletter, so I've been a writer. I've been a columnist for the Denver Post, all that kind of stuff. Also, then I got into hooping. Let's see here, in 2008. I believe, yeah. So whenever you're watching this video, it may be years later. So I'm just going to let you do the math. At the moment, that's a decade worth of hooping. So, and I have over, let's see here, over 30, yeah, 30, well over 30 years of teaching experience, of teaching dance. So I've taught dance, I've taught martial arts. I do have a background in martial arts. I have a 4th degree black belt in Jeet Kune Do, which is, if you're not familiar with Jeet Kune Do, is Bruce Lee's style. And I studied with Clarence Thatch of 3D Martial Arts. He is an awesome instructor in Denver, and I learned some great stuff. And I came about that through an interesting thing. That was another tap, tap, tap from the universe and knockout punch. I was going out with somebody at the time, and I found out that they were basically stalking me. And it was a very, it puts you in a very diminished position when, you feel powerless against somebody who's just out kind of out to get you, and he was a martial artist and stuff like that, which I found out later. Like, so I learned about how to go through the police and do all kinds of stuff. But basically, I got myself into a martial arts program, and it was something that I had always wanted to do. But because I was being stalked, I went into martial arts, and it just turned out that I absolutely loved it. And it was all kinds of the style, the Jeet Kune Do is basically use whatever is useful to you, which I really loved. And being a small person, you didn't have to like muscle the moves. You could have whatever techniques worked for you. So I had some interesting techniques that I learned from a lot of the people that I studied with. I studied with some really brilliant black belts who I didn't know were black belts at the time, and so they were just wonderful. So yeah, so I have background in dance, a lot of master classes in that, martial arts. I've studied some really cool master classes in that. Like I had a really wonderful master class with Grandmaster Pan, which was amazing, and he did Tai Chi. And I used to always think of Tai Chi as that thing that old people do in the park. Forgive the generalization of that. Until I went to his class, and he did like this little thing where he like bonked everybody on the forehead with the fingertip, and this was like 10% of the power that he has. And he would come by, and he asked for your permission to do it, and it wasn't like the knockout punch, but it was like, ow, dang, so, but he would show these moves. You'd be doing kind of like the Karate Kid version of something like wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? For like 10 to 20 minutes or something like that. And then he would show you what the move actually did, like you're like, dang, that's cool. So yeah, Grandmaster Pan was cool. So yeah, so martial arts, dance, belly dance, ballet. What else? I had like a little bit of background in gymnastics as well too as a younger person. But I do more gymnastics now actually. I think with the stuff I do, I'm trying to get a handstand with my hooping, because that's like a cool thing to do. But I've got to get my wrists stronger and do all that stuff. Yeah, and so as part of what I do with hooping too is performing as well. So I didn't start out to do that, but I do that now. And so part of what I do with this show is okay. Hopefully that feed is still going. So my YouTube feed just like froze there. So pardon on the YouTube feed if you missed some of that. Anyway, martial arts, dance, a background in a lot of different things. So, but also as a performer, and that's one of the reasons why I do this show is trying to get comfortable. Believe it or not, this is not easy for me to do, to get in front of a camera and talk and be vulnerable and tell you about me and be personal and stuff like that. I don't know if that's easy for anybody. Maybe for some people it is, but people think I'm like a really outgoing person, and yes, but it's a developed outgoingness. It's I don't feel necessarily always comfortable with it, and yes, I get extremely nervous going on stage to perform, and my husband's like, why do you get nervous? I'm like, because he doesn't, he deals with performing in his own way, so he has his own like need to focus and stuff like that. So we all show our how we need to show up and and do stuff in front of other people in different ways. So yeah, artist, performer. I'm just gonna just read the rest of my notes here and make sure that I got everything. Workshop training. Small business. Oh yeah, small business. Yes. So I've basically always had my own small businesses too. So whether it be running my cartooning and doing illustration. I had a business called Touche Productions for a long time, which was a media production company. So I could do video. My background, my educational background is in radio, TV, film. So both behind the scenes and in front of the camera, I did a little bit of that. So, and I was lucky enough. I graduated from Northern Illinois University with a BA in that, and then a minor in business and dance. So that dance education, specifically, and interestingly enough, with my the radio, TV, film, my major, that I graduated with. And I also graduated with honors too. So I'm very proud of all of that because I worked very hard for all of that. It only took me an extra semester and I crammed extra courses to do all of that because basically with the two minors and the honors, it was basically like having another degree. So because it was that many course hours. So anyway, but yeah, the communications in my department, in my graduating class, there was like approximately like give or take 500 of us, and so it was a fairly large university. 26,000 people or so when I went there. Don't know what it is now, but anyway, this department was pretty, pretty great. Oh, the director from Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out of my school. So we've had like really cool, like famous people come out of there too. It's not like UC Berkeley or, some of the other like LA places or New York places, but it was really cool to be able to study there and learn all this stuff. But interestingly enough, out of the 500 people, I was one of two people that I know of that actually was working in the field after college. So that's actually a big deal, because a lot of people go to college and, study something and then they don't end up working in that field. Now, of course, if you're going in for nursing or doctor or lawyer, a very specific or business, you're probably training for something in particular and probably going to get that job and work in that field. But anyway, that was a really cool thing, and I worked very hard at it. I got an internship and then got some freelance jobs and turned into some regular work for me. We did that out in Illinois in the Chicago area, did that out in the Northern California area for a short amount of time, came back out to Colorado where I've grown up most of my life. And have been most of my life for the majority for now. But yeah, I did that as well out here. So not as much in the radio, TV, film, but I switched more over to the print industry when I came. A little bit of the California, I started training out there, and then I continued my training out in Colorado. So the media background, I've always tried to hone that and stay in that a little bit. Like whenever I'm volunteering for organizations, I'll try and do the press or media, public relations, a little bit of that stuff because it's something that's really up my sleeve. I'm a great writer. I consider myself a really good writer. I love words. They're a lot of fun. I like to, it's easier to write than to speak. Well, it's hard to do both, because it takes a lot of skill and talent, but a lot of, part of it is the editing. So editing is key. So because I'm doing this in a more free-form format, it's going longer than I, really wanted to budget out for time on this. But yeah, part of like what I did as a single panel cartoonist, you only have X amount of space. You cannot develop a storyline in several panels. That's a panel card, a strip. That's what they call it. A strip cartoon is, when I say that, I'm usually going in that direction because you have a panel, a panel, a panel. You may have one panel or three panels or four panels, five, however. And then you get to a comic book where you may have lots of panels and pages and all that kind of stuff, and you develop a story. But with a single panel cartoon, you have to the art of editing and the art of getting the joke and structuring it. You spend a lot of time trying to make it very simple. And so there was a quote by Hemingway about, I think it's kill your darlings. So you'd write this brilliant thing and then you have to take it out because it doesn't fit with the rest of the stuff. And you're like, dang, that was brilliant, that was good, and nobody will see it ever. And I had to do that with my writing all the time. So, it's like I only get to impress myself, but hopefully overall, when you get something done and a piece finished, then you have something good to show for it. Much like choreography, I also do choreography and dance and stuff like that. I've done the World Hoop Day dance, and I'm doing it again this year. So I did it last year, I'm doing it this year. And I also wrote the song, the lyrics for it. And this year I even wrote some of the melody stuff. So, and Billy DeVette helped me on the getting the music together on that. And last year, my husband, Bill Owen, also helped the Double Bills team. So, Yeah, so I've got my hand in World Hoop Day. I help with the Colorado World Hoop Day event, which is a fairly large event. And, the World Hoop Day international organization, and help promote that. So the World Hoop Day coming up is October 6th this year. But it happens every year. Now we have it as the first Saturday of October every year. So whatever time you're watching this, that's when it is. So it may be past, it may be coming up whenever you're watching this. Again, thank you for watching it, and participate. Grab a hoop, even if you don't know how to hoop. Join us. There's a dance, there's a choreography. There'll be some videos coming out with that and all that kinds of good stuff. So anyway, that is who I am. So as like I said, I have an extensive background in a bunch of things, kind of like, as my grandma would say, would have said, jack of all trades, master of none. I think my grandfather would have said that too. But I do have a little bit of expertise in these things. So I'm trying to share this knowledge with you and see if any of these things resonate with you. And, it's just like Jeet Kune Do, take what's useful to you. And like when I go to a seminar or try and go to a workshop or something, I call it getting one golden nugget out of it. So even if there's one thing that you can pull out of it that is either new information for you or something that you want to put into action right away, get at least one thing out of it and do something with that right away. So if there's something that I've said in this broadcast here, please take it, run with it. Maybe I've inspired you to do something. Maybe you want to look something up. Maybe you want to ask a question. Research something out. Run with it. Do something. If you want to further your goals, I'm all about that. The positivity and I'm a kick butt motivator. That's another thing that I bring to the table. And like when I teach my Hip the Hoopla classes and workshops, and the online classes, part of what I do is break things down into little bite-sized pieces so that they're accessible. So you can take something very complicated, bring it down to its smaller elements, learn each one, and I like to teach it with humor and love and joy and gentleness too. So my classes are always a positive, safe space to try stuff. So you can drop the hoop all you want. You can look stupid. Really, you don't look stupid, but part of what I do is just try and get adults to play, and not worry about looking anyway, because it's just about doing rather than trying to act in a certain way. So anyway, I hope that gives you a little bit more insight about me, and thank you for joining me for this special show. This has been about who is the theme, and why I pick out these one word topics is because of the SEO, because my website lets me pick out one word for SEO. So the theme is kind of based on like that theory. So but I kind of flush it out in the title, so hopefully I get something out of it. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. This whole time I have like a little pet cameo in the background. I normally do that here. There's little Layla. Layla, come here. You wanna come up? Come. Let's see if she'll do a little pet cameo here. She's probably gonna do a stretch first. Can you do an up? Oh, yes, she's waving. She's doing this to me. So can you go up? Can you go up? Oh, yeah. Oh, you're so cute. Yes. So this is a cute puppy, Layla. She's fairly new for us. She's from a shelter and she's 3 years old. So I like to try and do a little pet cameo. I also have a little background in laughter yoga as well, because I'm a certified laughter yoga leader. So for the end little bit that I'll leave with you, I'll do a little hooping demo and we'll do a little laughter yoga exercise. And I'm going to try and move the chair out of the way and see how many things I can hit. Just kidding. What we're going to do is we're going to take a nice deep breath in, roll the shoulders back, and as you exhale, I want you to laugh it out. Inhale it in. Exhale it out. Inhale it in. Exhale it out. And then, so we'll just do 3 of those as a little laughter yoga exercise. And then at the end of laughter yoga exercises, we take our hands together nice and big and go, very good, yay. We do that twice, very good, yay. So thank you for joining me on that if you did. And do that and do as many breaths as you want, maybe a minute's worth of them. So I'm just going to do a little hooping demo. So that you have some fun, like, who is this Hooper gal? So, all kinds of fun things. Small hoop because I'm in a small space. And I've got my cool leggings on. I'm very much into leggings these days. I don't know why. I have like this little legging obsession thing going on. So it's taken over a whole drawer, and it's starting to creep into another drawer too. So, yes. So, yeah. Alrighty, so stay tuned for the World Hoop Day dance, all that kind of good stuff. World Hoop Day is Saturday, October 6th of this year. And yeah, so this has been Shay of Hip the Hoopla. Also, I would love for you to be join in our inner circle. So if you would like, go to my website, www.hipthehoopla.com. That's HIPTHEHOOPLA.com, and sign up there. You'll get a nice little free gift there for signing up. And once I get my newsletters going, which I promise I will, my little e-newsletters, then and they will have tutorials, some upcoming performances, if I have some online classes offered, which I'm so happy because I think I got my, I actually have a couple of I'm working on my third online class up, so I'm very proud of that. Finally learning all the technology and actually doing the thing that I said I would be doing. And so this is one of those things I said I would be doing as well, which is doing this live show and then trying to get 50 episodes done this year. So not bad. So I haven't advertised the heck out of it because I'm still trying to, as my mom would say, find my butt with both hands. So, and then I would always add on, in the dark with a map and with a, with a flashlight, So, in other words, yeah, take with that what you want from those quotes. So, yes, 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 yes. Okay. So, this has been Shay of Hip the Hoopla. Go sign up for that newsletter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I have free tutorials on YouTube. I also have tutorials on Instagram as well. I'm going to try and post all of those up on YouTube. I'm going to try and get better at a lot of things, part of that Kaizen thing. And so anyway, thank you so much for joining. Thanks, Jennifer, for joining in, and everybody watching the recording. Blessed. Rock on. Peace out. That's what all that is. All right. Talk to you guys later. I'll see you guys on the next show. All right. Bye.